I'm back.
Brume, come. Hey, Brume Brust. Good evening.
Good evening, all.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Explain this one, I beg. Let me learn.
Abroad, rent or mortgage, which is more expensive, Brume?
In Canada, mortgage is more expensive, right? So I don't know how it is over there in the UK, but
cheaper.
Here, for example, right, for an average family with a combined income of $200,000, right, you can qualify for a house of about $700,000, and your mortgage will be about 5 to 6K, right, at the current rate. But to rent a house of the same size as what you own, you will only pay about $2,800 to $3,500. So in the UK, it works for them that because not everyone can afford to save a down payment. So getting into real estate in the UK qualifies you for lower monthly payments, right? That's why UK boys will buy a house and rent it out to other people. Those people pay rent, they pay the mortgage from that rent and keep the change. In Canada here, especially Ontario, if you buy a house and rent it out, you will add money from your pocket to make up the mortgage.
It's not
in
on
Ontario
cases.
here.
No, it's
show
not
me.
on cases.
I said
I live in
Ontario.
Calgary.
Even in
Calgary, it's not the
real
same.
estate in Calgary is not so cheap anymore, right? I don't know when you bought your house.
Let me tell you, we rent separately. Don't rent your house all.
Okay.
That's the secret. Don't rent the whole of your apartment. If you have a duplex, rent the room bit by bit. That's what we do. The room, if each room has its own bathroom, you can put each room maybe $700 for one person. And you have a garage, then the master bedroom, the person might be paying $1,000 per month. And that one will have a garage space to park. That person on the garage is paying for parking space as well. You include the garage. If you don't have garage, they park in the street. Okay, that one is still okay. But you rent it bit by bit. But when you rent the whole apartment for one person, you might be losing money.
So what?
And
what people
in
do
Calgary
here?
now, Airbnb gives more money here. Honestly, I will not say I kick. My tenant moving with a lady, a female lady like Oyibo that he met here. So he just leave. My husband was so happy because we are waiting for him for his lease to finish by August so he can leave. We want to use that for Airbnb. I live very close to the airport. Airbnb, somebody just check in, they check out. The other person that came, they came from the US. It was husband and wife. They stayed for 5 days. That 5 days, they don't pay us almost what they get for 1 month for that house. And now, one guy just checked in yesterday, and that guy is staying for 31 days, which is 1 month. That one alone, I don't get next month money, go for hand. But you see, so these things now, when you stay like this, you interact with people, you shop around.
So you know what? There are two things, right? There are two things. Now, the barriers to entry, right here, okay, especially now with the current, I don't know when you bought your house, okay? But now, to qualify for a house, right, by the time you submit all the requirements, you go through the stress test and all of that, right? People are not qualifying for expensive houses anymore.
Exactly.
So today, the average mortgage is $6,000 or $7,000, first of all, right?
Exactly.
Talking about renting out parts of your house. Not everybody wants to rent out rooms in the same house where they live, except they are single and they don't mind, right? What people do after buying your house, if it's more than 2 years old, you spend another $30,000 to $40,000 making your basement a legal basement, meaning that it has to be, the person should be able to come in and come out as if it's an independent house. Okay? Now, to do that, it's a lot of investment. You have to increase the size of the windows. You have to make sure there's a door or something, right? So that's the best people can do, right? So they can at least make some income from the house. People who are single would actually move into their basement no matter what and use the rest of the house for Airbnb.
Exactly.
But the bottom line today is that it is way cheaper to rent than to buy a house. If you just move to Canada.
That's true.
Canada.
I agree
way
with
cheaper.
You. Yes,
People that bought houses last year,
somehow.
many of them are about to go insolvent. They are stuck with $7,000 mortgages that they can barely afford, you know. And For some of them, especially when the houses are new build, they cannot even complete the basement yet because you have to wait 2 years before you can touch the house.
Oh, wait, Brume. So Canada, who jumped and bought houses are worse off than people who rented.
Today, yes.
Wow.
Today, yes.
Wow, this is mad information.
But it depends on your income. It depends on your
so many
income.
things to pay. It's true.
Everybody.
There
Some
are
of
so
you
many
don't
things to pay.
Libya, so they follow you talk. When they watch me, as soon as they trek. The beach they go. What God cannot do does not exist. No problem. Una don't learn lesson. Come buy my stars. Brume, where they teach you now for don't buy plenty stars. Musibo Shen. Musibo, thank you so much. Musibo, don't buy like 500 stars. Thank you. God bless. 680 stars. Don't nearly catch Brume. Zachary Brown. Thank you. Oh yeah, how do you buy stars? Just go to Facebook. Facebook is the only place where you buy stars. Go to Facebook, search for Daddy Free, DYFREEZE, and go there and buy my stars now. 800 and something of you watching me live, go and buy stars. You see, let me tell you something, Brume. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Very well.
In the recession in 2006, if I remember clearly, because I always observed it, I made some calculations. You see, your mortgage is how many years? Destiny, how many years is your mortgage?
To be honest, Daddy Freeze, I'm a wrong person to ask. My husband is the one. When I tell people, they said, sugar, what if you quarrel with your husband? I'm like,
I wish I
know my dream.
What is that?
Honestly speaking, honestly, I do not know anything about my mortgage. My husband does. I do not know.
Average length of time for a mortgage.
So nowadays, right, because of the high interest rates, right, people are amortizing for 40, 50 years because going down to 20, 30 years now, right, brings your monthly payments to like very, very highly unrealistic amounts. You're probably lucky because you bought a house, right? People like us that just came to Canada, which year here, right? We are the ones seeing all these barriers to entry, right? So what's going on, even for people that had variable interest rates, who were paying who entered when rates were like 0.25%, and now they are 4.5%, are having to go and refinance and renegotiate and amortize for longer periods because they simply cannot afford the monthly payments. So if you did 20 years and for you it's okay, that's good, right? But nowadays the options are increasing, right?
But
and take note
here
that
it hasn't, Brume. It hasn't in UK. Very different.
the Canadian market is wild. It's very different from others, right? So I have seen 40-year amortizations, right? I have seen 25. I have seen 30. But
ours is 25.
People in Canada, they treat real estate like stocks. Most people don't buy houses with the intention to live there and pass it on to their children. People buy houses waiting for the prices to go up so they can sell and make money. Even when realtors sell the idea to you, they tell you, look, don't worry, stay there for 2-3 years. When the market is crazy, you can sell and pocket your 200K. So that's the general mentality here, right? We're not buying the house to hand over to our kids. We're buying the house, waiting to make some capital gains, sell, and move on to another house, right? So, nowadays, like, because of the stress involved in making these monthly payments, especially private mortgage companies are giving longer amortizations, knowing that a lot of people will not stay in the house for the next 30, 40 years. They will make a capital gain, they will sell and move on.
It's good you're saying this because, in a way, it's just like showing us, obviously, showing people back home the difference in the different society, because UK is completely different. we actually would get the mortgage hoping to stay in the house, as opposed to what you've just said.
Now,
And it's 25 years on average, max 30.
Saying something before. I just wanted to ask the duration, because I can guarantee you in 30 years you're going to see at least 2 recessions.
One is already
sometimes there are recessions every 10 years, some there are recessions every 20 years. But you know that about every 10 years there's a recession, and when recessions happen, house prices drop.
Yeah.
People lose their job. Now, if you are renting, imagine 2 people. Let's imagine 2 of us. Brume gets a job. He has $30,000. I have $30,000. I buy a Mercedes with my $30,000. Brume puts his own down as down payment for the house. His monthly rent and my monthly mortgage will be about the same thing. If in Canada, the mortgage will be higher. If in the UK, the mortgage will be lower, but they're always around the same thing, somewhere thereabout. Now, here's the thing here. If a recession happens, remember, you borrowed $300,000 from the bank to buy that house. The worth of the house is now £170,000, and you don't have a job. So something's got to give. You're going to be kicked out of that house. Now, if I'm renting the house, if I can't pay my rent again, I move from there. But you see, if you're mortgaging, if you lose your job and can't pay, you are left with a hole of $130,000. So it either damages your credit rating, or it is carried over to wherever you are going. You are still owing, because you borrowed £300,000 from the bank to buy a house. You have paid $60,000 out of it. The house is now worth $170,000. So the total of what you've paid and what the house is worth is less than what you have left. So you are owing the bank $60,000, depending on what your negotiation is. So what do you do with that $60,000? You've lost the house, because if you don't pay 2 or 3, I don't know what the law is. If you don't pay 2 or 3 mortgages, you lose the property. So you've lost
the property.
Yeah. The problem is, if you lose a property that is doing well, what you've lost is the property. But if you lose a property that you bought at £300,000 and you lose it at a time when that property is going for £170,000, the bank will not let you just walk away. The bank is not going to take that loss. So in instances like that, especially with long mortgages, where you like 30 years, 40 years, there's always going to be you have 30 or 40 straight years without a recession. When that happens, you better be prepared, because the person who is renting will stop and lose his house and go and stay in a shelter. You will lose your job, lose your house, stay in a shelter, and be owing bank £100,000. So, people don't. They just, you see, the problem we all have is we think like our parents thought. House is an asset. House is an. Once you get a house, you are okay. Get a house. That's the way our parents thought. And looking at Nigeria today, you can see that the way our parents thought did not take us anywhere. We have to. The difference between rich people and poor people is poor people don't see the big picture and they don't read the fine print. A rich man will buy this iPhone and spend 3 hours reading the instructions before he clicks act. Because he will look for all the indemnities that are there. And do you know that you can actually sue Apple and make money? But because you just bought it to show off, just click back. Somebody will sit down and look at a fault in the app and send his lawyers to Apple, tell them that, okay, what's going on? And Apple quickly call him aside and give him $100,000 and say, shh, don't tell anybody, we'll settle out of court. So rich people are different from poor people. Rich people see the big picture. Poor people only see what they hear and the now. They are struggling with food, shelter, and clothing. That's their main problem in this life. But rich people, they don't up, they get house, they don't wear clothes. So now to they explore other opportunities, 9 days they ahead. But that you tend to jump and think you've gotten such a good deal, and it looks like a good deal for 10 years, and then boom, you enter a recession. And then you are now carrying a load that is bigger than you that you cannot pay off. Then you lose all what you've worked for. Do you know that during the housing crash in 2008, people lost everything they had worked for 20 years?
Yeah, that's true.
So,
you think also? Yeah, go on.
I they teach you now, make una go buy my stars. Go to Facebook, search for Daddy Freeze is DADDYFREEZE. Click on today's video. You will see me there waving hand like this. Hi, Facebook. Go there and buy stars. Make I the halo now. Yeah, go to Facebook and buy stars. Yeah, Brumer, you were trying to say.
Yeah, so I was just going to say this, right? That, you know, back home in Nigeria, many of these things are status symbols. Your house, your car, your phone. But here, nobody really cares, you know. That's why my sister here was talking about how she's been driving her car for 4 years, right? It's like when I first came here as an immigrant, you know, I didn't want to waste money buying a car, right? So I bought something very affordable, and I've been using it since I came. Even though people tell me, you know, go change this your car. Think about it. My car is parked more than it is driven. It's always in front of my house. It is covered in snow right now.
It works. Yeah.
Why? Yeah. So I'm only changing it so that when we go for events and we all walk out to our cars, I can be seen to be driving something nice. But in my own private moment, all I need is a car to drive to the train station or pick my kids from school or go grocery shopping, right? It functions, it moves, it's safe, right? I start it and it starts. So why should I change it if all I want is something to take me from point A to point B, right? And the same goes for houses. When you're trying to buy your first house, forget about, you know, that housewarming where you want to impress people when they come and visit you, because that's what will land you in trouble. That mortgage, when you start to pay it, you'll be paying it alone or with your spouse. And there's something called being house poor here, where all the resources of the family goes towards paying a mortgage. It's happening to many people. So instead of chilling at home during the weekend like I'm doing now, I'll be out there doing Instacart, Uber, PSW work at night, running around just so that we can afford to pay the mortgage and have nothing left at the end of the day, right? So there are advantages here to being in the market, right? You know, when you have a house, there's home equity line of credit and some other things that you have. Even the equity you build on your home over time as you pay your mortgage, right, can be to your advantage in the future. But the key is just to get something that's affordable. If it's costing more than 60 or 70% of the family income, then it's not worth it anymore. The house has become like a heavy liability. And then you have to start renting out your spaces to make extra money if you can, right? Otherwise, if there's a recession, those people who are spending so much money paying their mortgage, if one person in the house loses their job, that's it. Done.
Yeah. No, it's a very good one, no, DF. But also, because I had someone is asking, are you now saying that renting is better than mortgage? I would just say it's in different societies, because that's Canada. Don't forget. Here in Britain, I'll give you an example. Let me use mine now. I was where I am. I rented a 1-bedroom in the city center for about 1 bedroom for about 800 and something pounds a month. Now I moved down and go get my own place on mortgage. So this is now UK. So in comparison to Canada. So, and then I get a 3-bedroom for under 800 pounds. I say that again. 1 bedroom I was renting for almost 900 pounds, 800 and something, 1 bedroom. And then I go and I get my mortgage for a 3-bedroom property, and I'm paying less than 800 pounds. Now, this is what I'm trying to say is different. So this is UK. Things are all getting a bit more expensive everywhere, but relatively here in UK, because we get our own peculiar wahala. it's still cheaper. Our mortgages tend to be cheaper than our rent. The renters are suffering like crazy. It's really jumping up, and the landlord can do whatever he likes anytime, any day. They'll just change the things. They'll say it's 1K. If you don't want, pack out. Simple. But to a large extent, usually when you get your mortgage, you might fix it. You might hold it down for like 2 to 5 years on that rate. If you lock it in, it means that for the next 2 to 5 years, that under 800 or under 900 I say I'm paying, under 800 I'm paying, is guaranteed. It's not going to change. It might be waiting for me in the future after 5 years, but for the next 5 years, nobody's going to ask me for more than that. I just have to worry about my bills around me, my electricity, my gas. That's all.
True. Yeah. So for me, right, I feel mortgages are better, but you need to be careful before you enter, just so you don't fall into a trap, that ends up, becoming a burden too much for you to carry in the future. So instead of going for that big fancy house that you want, go for the one that you can afford until you build your income and you build enough stability to be able to afford something bigger. And hopefully the value of the house that you get initially will rise. So when you sell it, you have enough money to, make a substantial down payment on the next one to reduce your monthly payment, But when you think about it, how much we give our landlords in a year, right? That could have been directed towards equity in your own home. So for me, I think it's still better to be in a mortgage, even though here it's more expensive than rent. But if you think about it, we're just giving equity to our landlords, especially those ones who are fortunate to be in the group that bought houses a long time ago. So we pay them enough money for them to pay their mortgages and still have change. But the rest of us who just came now, we are facing a situation where renting is far cheaper, but at the same time, we don't feel good giving that money away to the landlords, right? We would rather work and have that money build up as equity in our own houses, because when it's time to sell in the future, that counts as well, So it's like being stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea. You just have to decide at what price, what entry point is good enough for you at your current situation, and have a long-term plan, okay? You want that big 4-bedroom mansion, you might be able to squeeze and buy it now, right? But as the priest has pointed out, recessions happen. So you want to ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario, right? We have unemployment insurance. So if you lose your job, the government won't be paying you about $2,000 something, right? So if husband and wife lose their jobs, can EI pay the mortgage? That's the worst case scenario. Exactly.
Never.
So
never.
It makes
tough.
sense.
Yeah, guys. Lovely to have you here, Brume. And this was indeed a very interesting session. And we're going to have quite a few of these sessions next week. I can see that people are interested in topics like these, mortgage or rent, especially Nigerians who are trying to relocate abroad. It's very important to understand what exactly is going on, where you are going to. So we're going to have a lot of conversations from next week. Thank you so much for joining. Those of you who bought me stars, thank you so much. You can still go over to Facebook and buy me stars. Thank you all so much. Destiny, sorry for waking you up and taking you to bed. Natural Gambia, okay. Thank you, my darling sister. And Brume, thank you and God bless. I'm over to join Taste Buds now. Let's see what she's talking about. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.